This is the xTool D1 Pro 40 watt with extensions. Now I bought this with my own money, unsponsored, just over 2 years ago. Do I think it's still worth the money? Yes, I do. This is by far one of my favourite tools. But it's not without its drawbacks. So what I'm going to do is show you what I got in the bundle, and then we're going to go over the bad points about this machine, because if you rule it out at the beginning, there's no point watching the good points, and I'm going to save you some time. But if you do leave the video early, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button on the way out. So with the bundle, I also got the air compressor. I got this big enclosure. You get a 2 meter hose pipe thingy. I actually ended up buying a 5 meter because I needed longer. You obviously also get the power, everything you need for it to start and put together. I also got the xTool rotary tool thing. I still haven't got it out of the box yet, so this isn't going to be part of the review. But when you order it, you can't just order the D1 Pro 40 watt. You have to order the D1 Pro 10 watt, and then you have to order the extension and the 40 watt head separately. So unfortunately, upstairs I've got a 10 watt laser head I've never used, and also the the non-extended bars, so the shorter version of the D1 40 watt Pro. I hope that makes sense. Now firstly, it's quite big and heavy. So an issue I have in this room is it was very difficult to store. Originally, I wanted to put it in that little hole over there, but it's actually 5mm too big. So what I've done is I've created a small trolley for it at the moment, where I can slide it in and out from underneath the desk. Now another downside that I mentioned earlier is that when I ordered it, it didn't come as one big package. You basically need to get your xTool D1 Pro 10 watt, which looks like this once it's been built. So this is actually the xTool D1, not the D1 Pro. And it's this size with a 10 watt laser head. So when you order the bundle, it basically comes as the smaller laser cutter you have to put together with the extensions and the 40 watt head. This means that when you're reading the instructions and putting it together, it can be quite difficult because it tells you how to basically put together the smaller laser cutter, and then it tells you how to adapt the smaller cutter to be the larger one. It's basically strip down this and replace it with the right parts of the other kits that have been delivered. So let's see how that goes. Which means you've got to keep going backwards and forwards through 2 different instruction manuals, trying to work out how to put this machine together. I haven't got the instructions out the bin. I think I might need them. I've read through all 3 sets of instructions, from the basic kit to the extensions to the module. Good thing about them is it looks like the old Lego instructions, so they might actually be followable. Now, it wasn't extremely difficult, but there were certainly some confusing bits, and I had to keep going backwards and forwards, replacing different wires I didn't realise were in the wrong place until it didn't work. I was just about to put away the 40 watt Pro module kit, and I found this in there. This is for the extension, and rather than putting it in the extension kit, they put it in the 40 watt module kit, which to me makes no sense. But then I look at the top of the laser and I realise there's an extra module that wasn't filled, so I've got a feeling I've got to unwire it, unclip it, and then rewire it all again. So not quite done yet. Also, it's a little frustrating. I've had to pay for a 10 watt laser head that I've never used. Now this is only a minor setback. It took me quite a few hours to put it together, but once it's working, you never have to worry about that problem again, unless you do try downsizing it back to its original form. Now another problem that's not really that big a deal for me, but if you want to cut through clear acrylic, this machine cannot do that. You need a CO2 laser. This is a diode laser. But if you just want to engrave or cut on wood, slate or leather, this machine will do just fine. Now another issue with this machine is that once it's started, if you stop it at any point, it cannot just restart from where it stopped, if that makes sense. Most of the time, unless you've made a design in a way that you can work out where it stopped and continue, which takes a long time, you're going to have ruined that piece of work. Now I did have one project that was an 8-hour burn that stopped 8 times during the process. It took me about half hour to restart it every time it stopped because I had to line it up perfectly to carry on the engraving. And this was, in my opinion, due to the overly sensitive fire detector. Now on this machine, really great, it's got a safety sensor that detects fire, but it detects it by brightness. So if you're using this laser cutter without the enclosure and the sunlight comes out, there's a good chance that your project is going to stop midway through. And again, there's a good chance that you're going to have to restart that part of the project. Now, if you download xTool's version of software you can use to laser cut, there is a way of reducing that sensitivity. If, however, like me, you found it too difficult to install that piece of software and you just use Lightburn, it is a bit of an issue, which is why I always use the enclosure when I'm burning, regardless of what fumes are coming off the machine. And a downside for the enclosure is that it's not completely sealed. So there will be smoke coming out where you don't want it to, although there is a fan to blow most of it out, some of it will still escape. There's also a very tiny chance that the laser can bounce off of the laser into your eyes, which could blind you for life. So it's not a tool to be messed around with, and it should certainly be respected. And although the enclosure does work to a large degree, I'm going to be building my own enclosure out of this wood here to make sure that no smoke can get out, and also to make sure no laser light can escape either. So this is the air assist unit. The air comes out of here through a pipe and then plugs directly into the machine. Now it does look a bit like an aquarium pump to me, but it does a good job at keeping your models that much cleaner. Now when you turn it on full power, it does make quite a noise, but I'm guessing if you've got a room with a laser cutter going, you're not going to be sitting down trying to relax. Okay, so as always, there is a lot of downsides of this laser. If you want something that can cut acrylic, it just won't do. If you want something you can put away easily and hide when you're not using it, again, it's not that easy to do. And although I feel I'm safe using it, there is still that thing at the back of my mind, making sure you always keep an eye on this machine whenever it's working. Oh, and I did forget to mention, it comes with safety goggles. So after all of that, why do I think this is such a good machine and why do I love it so much? Well, if you look around this office, you'll see things that I have made with this machine. It is very precise and it is very accurate. On the table I'm sitting on now, I can engrave into the wood and then cut another piece out and inlay it in, which is how I've made these fossils. The door behind me was made with a laser cutter. Again, I can make very intricate designs and have it burn beautifully. I'm currently working on this project, which I use the laser to cut out accurately, and then I've carved into the wood. I simply would just not have the patience to do this with a scroll saw, and I wouldn't be 100% sure it would be accurate enough anyway. So, as you would expect from a laser cutter, the accuracy of this machine is amazing, and it can really help you push the boundaries and do things that I just couldn't do by hand. Now, the thing that really drew me to this machine is its power. Unlike the 10 watt, obviously, it's a lot more powerful. So, an engraving like this took half an hour, and it's about 3mm deep in some places. So, that's going to save a lot of time. And I actually started using this as part of a business where I burn large signs. I found that when I was using a smaller 10 watt laser, it wasn't burning deep enough and it was taking a lot longer. By using the 40 watt laser, I could burn deeper and quicker and therefore take on bulk jobs and earn more quicker. And that was another great thing about this machine, is that I paid it off within the first year by doing jobs making signs. If you're interested in how I did that, I've done a separate video on it. I'll leave a link in the top right hand corner if I remember. Now, another great thing about a diode laser is if you want to burn onto a large surface, you can just place it on top and burn onto it. With a CO2 laser where it's all enclosed, I believe this is not possible to do. And that is one of the reasons why I was able to burn onto this 3-meter long desk. But for me, one of the very best things about this laser is its quality. Now, I've had this machine for over 2 years and had absolutely no problems with the functioning of it. It's very sturdy, it's not bent or twisted, and it has been abused. Now, as I said before, I did have an issue with the sensor being too sensitive, so I decided to tape it up. That was a big mistake because I started a pretty big fire. There's been a bit of a fire. As you can see, the flames were coming out the top of the machine, they were up here, and it wasn't until the tape melted off of the sensor that it actually cut out, but the fire was still going. Now, as you can imagine, after I put the fire out, my next thought was, I'm going to need a new laser cutter. But despite the fact the head of the laser had been sitting in flames for a good minute or so, it has still worked perfectly for a year afterwards, and I've still had no issues with it, which to me is amazing of the build quality. Even if there is a good possibility it could start a fire. And as you can see now, fires are a real concern. I've managed to accidentally start 2. Both of them were because I was burning too low and out of focus with the laser. The second time, however, I hadn't taped up the sensor, so it actually stopped very quickly and the fire went out almost immediately. Do not tape up the fire sensor. So other than that, once you put it together, it's a very easy machine to use. The air assist on the 40 watt actually goes straight for the top, so it's really easy to connect. And the air assist is very important. It will really give you better quality on engravings than trying to do without. In fact, on a 40 watt laser, I would say the air assist is essential for nice clean cuts because it is so powerful. So the thing I love about this machine is its quality, its size, and its power. Its downsides are always offset with really good positives, and this machine has allowed me to create things that I just couldn't possibly create without it. The fact that it doesn't have a solid enclosure means that I can move it onto bigger projects and use it where I wouldn't be able to use a CO2 laser. And the fact that it's bigger and harder to store means that I can burn bigger signs and charge more money and get more money coming in. Now the project I'm working on at the moment is with solid oak, and it's about 12 to 15 millimeters thick, and at 85% power it burnt through this in 5 passes, which for me was really good. So if you've got some huge projects you want to get done and you want a diode and you want a beast of machine, I would highly recommend the xTool D1 Pro 40 watt. So let me know what you think of this machine and what projects you're working on. And if you do like the xTool D1 Pro but it's a bit out of your price range, why not check out my other video on how I paid for it? Because on this channel, we don't ask ourselves if we can, we ask ourselves how we can.